So how do y'all want to play this?
Fast.
We going. Oh! And now we got cars flying in the air?
Not today.
Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're talking the new Fast and Furious movie, F9.
That's right, everybody. The latest movie in the Fast and Furious saga, where the cars and women are fast and the stakes are high. How does this movie stack up to the rest of them? Well, stick around because we're about to find out.
All right, Billy, let's talk about this cast. What do we got going on?
So we got almost the whole crew back, right? You got, of course, you got Dom and Letty. You got Ramsey back. You got, Tyrese back as Roman. You got Ludacris back. You got the Three Stooges from Tokyo Drift back. You got Han, Sean, and Twinkie. Pretty much everybody, I think. Maybe a few people that ain't back in this. Well, your boy...
no Rock. No Gal Gadot.
No Clint Eastwood, son. No Scott Eastwood,
that's kind of odd that he's not in
Yeah,
it.
I was surprised he wasn't because, you got a guest appearance, a little bit of an appearance from Kurt Russell in this one. So you kind of thought maybe something would pop up from Eastwood, but no Eastwood at all. So
yeah, no Scott Eastwood.
I guess he was just a one-shot wonder in the series, I guess. Huh?
I just don't feel like they had a spot for him to bring him back, especially with the way the storyline worked out.
Yeah, probably not.
We also got Charlize Theron's back.
Yeah, Charlize Theron's back again, as a villain, as always in this series here. And then, of course, we got the newcomer, John Cena. That's right, man. Dropping some elbows on people.
Yeah, replacing The Rock as Dom's little brother.
Jakob is Dom's brother.
Been a long time, Dom. Little brother.
There.
Yeah.
Not so little.
Not so little brother, yeah.
What do you think about this plot? It starts off where Dom's living the good life in the country, right?
Right. So it starts off with, the life you would totally not expect for Dom and Letty, living the quiet life. Of course, Dom's got his son. Because, basically the movie kind of picks up not long after, part eight, finished, I would guess. Because, it starts out where, Charlize Theron's captive and somebody frees her. And, and then Dom and Letty get involved, but they're living this quiet, good life with, Dom's son. And Dom's son is at this point, looks like he's maybe, 2 or 3? So I guess maybe a couple years have gone by.
2 or 3. Yeah. He's probably like 5 or 6.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah, maybe 5 or 6 then. Whatever. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, no, you're right. He's talking pretty well and stuff. Yeah, he's probably about 5 or 6. But, so it's okay. It's maybe 5 years after 8 then. Which is kind of weird then because, I guess it took him that long to capture Charlize Theron because she got away in 8. And then all of a sudden she's captured in this one, right? And they're freeing her. So, yeah, I guess it took them several years to finally track her down to catch her. But it doesn't explain any of that in this movie. But.
No, it starts off where Roman and the gang are coming to Dom's house trying to recruit him for a new mission because Mr. Nobody got compromised and sent a distress signal only to them. So they're trying to figure out what's going on. Got to go try and rescue Mr. Nobody.
Yeah, and of course, Dom at first is like, nah, I'm not going to do it. Living the quiet life now. I'm done with that game. And then Letty's like, all right, Dom, well, peace.
Yeah, Letty's like, I'm all in on this.
Right. You have fun tending the farm.
Yeah, mind the farm or whatever you need to do.
I'm out. And then, of course, Dom, has a little hint and an indicator that his brother's involved. So then, of course, he's all in at that point and follows suit. So and then it kind of picks up from there. So it starts out pretty slow and then, picks up very fast. Right, we get some action really quick. So they start out going to where was it? Some South American country, I think.
I don't recall where it specifically is.
But some country in South America, and they're down there trying to track down Mr. Nobody's plane that went down, which was supposedly had Charlize Theron on it. I guess at the same time, so he was transporting her somewhere and this piece of equipment, and the plane went down, and they can't find Mr. So they get to the plane, can't find Mr. Nobody. They find one of the pieces of equipment they're looking for. And then, of course, the military from this country shows up and all hell breaks loose, and then they're trying to escape. And basically, in the first 5 minutes of this movie, everybody should have died, right? This is, and we've seen craziness in all the Fast movies. This one just blows all the rest of them away as far as just the nonsensical stuff that would never happen, gravity defying, death defying, you name it, it's in here. And it's all just insane, but it makes for great action. So
yeah, these guys have fully automatic weapons chasing Roman, and I mean they're not even that far behind him, and of course none of these bullets hit him.
And Letty too. Letty's on a dirt bike, cruising, and they're like two of them right next to her, shooting at her, and they're both missing her with freaking automatic.
Yeah, throughout this whole movie, they're just driving cars. They don't seem like they're up armored or anything like that. No. Yeah.
Well, of course, and then Roman's on foot, and he gets, no kidding, surrounded probably by like 10 to 15 dudes.
Yeah, they're on an elevated position surrounding him.
And he somehow manages to mow them all down and is still alive. And it's like, come on now.
Yeah, they kind of poke fun at that and stuff like that. And if you think too hard, this movie will drive you crazy. So it's definitely a movie you got to turn your brain off and just roll with it. Right. And if you do that, it's a pretty decent action.
I mean, this movie, even the plot's not that great, but just all the action in it. I mean, that's really what this movie's all about, right? I mean, you can just turn your brain off to the plot, and who cares about the plot? You're just seeing action scene after action scene. You just cool stuff happening, and just the special effects, and just, I mean, like I said, all the crazy nonsense that goes on in this movie as far as just the stuff they do. And it was definitely way more than any other movie so far. And I like this one better than the last one for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing they love doing in these movies now is like people jumping from car to car.
Oh yeah,
that's like their thing now. It's like we saw it, I think, once in like Fast 6 or whatever it was, but now they're doing it every other action scene, jumping from a car to another vehicle or something like that.
Yeah, it's like they've got to top it. Every single movie they've got to do way more crazy stuff, right, to top what they did in the last movie, and this one is no exception, and by far exceeds the rest of them, I think. And there's a scene where, we mentioned this when we did the review of the trailer. A scene where they're trying to get away in the beginning, and there's a rope bridge, and the rope bridge gets cut, yet Ludacris is driving his Jeep, and he's hauling up a rope bridge, and makes it all the way up this rope bridge. I mean, I know...
As the bridge is falling.
As the bridge is falling, and I know, Jeeps are great at doing inclines, but you ain't nothing inclining up a falling rope bridge.
Yeah, there's...
so...
This isn't an incline issue. Like, the bridge is falling, the car is falling, so there's nothing for you to grab onto and move for the tire.
It just basically defies the laws of gravity in this. I mean, there's no way in hell that Jeep's getting up that freaking rope bridge, right?
There's even a scene early on where they're trying to get away, and they enter like a minefield, and they were told like you got to go 80 miles per hour to kind of, I guess, outrun the blast of the mine or something like that, which is kind of ridiculous. And then Roman is like, this vehicle's like speedometer only goes up to 70, which is kind of a ridiculous statement anyway, because the speedometer doesn't determine the speed of the car. I've had plenty of cars that say they can go 200 and they surely can't go 200. So that doesn't even play into it. But it's like a big armored vehicle. It isn't going that fast to begin with. And it's uneven terrain. There's no way that car, or probably any other cars would have gone 80 miles per hour.
No,
on that.
And just by looking at them, you can tell they weren't going 80. They were going, if they were lucky, maybe 50, through that terrain. And there's no way in heck any of them were going 80. But again, just to throw, just for the shock effect and to throw the action in there. So they're driving through this minefield, and of course mines are blowing up behind everybody. And I mean, Roman's car is kind of getting hit by some. He's driving through and kind of getting blasted in the backside of his vehicle with them, and just nuts, right? And then you got the rope bridge after the minefield, and then of course Dom, the bridge is gone, and he's like, "Oh man, what are we gonna do?" So this dude, Batman, slings it.
They show this in the trailer, but it's ridiculous.
There's no way. I mean, I would have ripped the axle right off that car. That axle would have been gone. There's no friggin' heavy car Batman swinging across a gorge and making it up to the other side.
Well, so I also wonder, like, what his plan was to detach the cable.
Right.
At the end. I mean,
he didn't have one. Obviously.
Well, I was worried about that. Like, is he just going to drive flat off? And they don't do that, which is kind of nice. But I'm like, what is your grand plan to detach that?
Well, and then the craziest part of all, right? So by this point, you get a glimpse of John Cena, and this dude just flies his car off the gorge, and the next thing you know, this stealth fighter comes in and just dips down and catches him with a magnet and just freaking flies off. And it's like,
there's some odd timing issues in this too, because he jumps off, and then 10 seconds later, maybe you see the jet and it's able to catch it and stuff like that. And there's also a scene where John Cena's character is also he's ziplining across the city, and Dom like sees him. He gets in a car. I'm like, you wouldn't be able to catch up to that guy.
No.
He's
well, especially when he gets to the end, because Dom had time to like stop his car, climb all the way to the top of the roof, and it's like, what? Like, there's no way you're getting the zip line.
It's ridiculous. I mean, that's like a straight line, and you're weaving in a car throughout the city, and then you're running up the stairs. I was like, what?
On a big tall building. Yeah, exactly. Then he had plenty of time to run over and jump and grab him. It's like, no. It's just a lot of craziness. Or there's a scene where Dom gets to pull a Samson and basically he grabs these two big chains and just yanks the roof down on top of him and some other people, and it's like, man,
Dom
what are
goes
they trying
like
to do
Incredible
here, man?
Hulk in this movie.
Yeah,
He's
oh, yeah.
like literally taking on 20 people.
Yeah, this dude just mowing through guys, yanks the freaking roof down like Samson, on the Philistines, and he just goes nuts, and it's just unreal, totally unreal, but makes for a good movie and makes for good action.
What do you think about how this movie, there were a lot of flashbacks to even before the first movie where like Dom is a kid hanging out with his father on the racetrack, and we see that scene where he beats the guy to death.
Yeah,
what do you think about all that?
Beats him almost to death. They didn't kill the guy, but he came close to it. So, yeah, I mean, it was cool seeing it. I like how they finally tied all that in. And it's funny because I actually went back and watched the first one after just to see how well that was. And they did it pretty well based off the way they described how it all went down in the first movie. When they're describing Dom and how everything went down, they did it pretty realistically in the last movie compared to how they talked about it in the first one.
Except this time, he's got a brother with him.
Yeah. So this time there's a brother, right? There's no brother in the first one that you heard about. And, of course, in this one, they're both, I mean, Dom looks like he's probably about 19 or 20. I mean, his kid brother looks like he's at least 16 or 17, when in reality he's in his 20s as well, the actor that plays him. But, and Dom is a good, at least a good head, maybe a little bit more than that, taller than his brother in the beginning scenes when they're both teenagers, running their dad's pit crew, because their dad was racing NASCAR.
Well, they must have been eating their Flintstone vitamins and drinking their milk too.
Well, the brother, yeah, because then, fast forward to when it's the future now or present time, and John Cena's, at least as tall, if not taller, than Vin Diesel in the movie. And it's like, well, how the heck did that happen when he was like freaking a good head and a half shorter than him? And, when they were, older teenagers.
Yeah, I mean, the people they picked obviously aren't as big and the right size, but they look somewhat
similar to the character. Yeah,
you could maybe even like have a movie with those two, I thought.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. Like a younger...
Like a prequel or something.
Yeah, that actually might be kind of cool because they're both good actors, And I've seen, the guy that played the young John Cena, he actually plays the younger brother in Peaky Blinders, and he does a good job in that show, and I liked him in that show. So, I agree, man. Those guys could probably do like a prequel movie kind of. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
What do you think about John Cena's character in this movie?
So, I mean, John Cena's not the best actor, right? But he does bring, a certain amount of charisma and a certain amount of just John Cena to the show. You see John Cena, everybody loves John Cena. He's just this big dude. He can just mow through guys, kind of like Dom can. So, I liked what he brought to it. Maybe they could have picked a better actor. But at the same time, he's, I think he did a good job for the character. I
thought Mark Wahlberg might have been more appropriate because he kind of looked like the kid early on in the movie and probably was the right size.
And yeah, exactly. No, that'd have been great. Mark Wahlberg would have been perfect for that fit. I agree.
But maybe they were trying to look for the closest replacement to like a Rock type of character, which is probably obviously John Cena.
Exactly. They wanted a big dude to come in here and replace The Rock. I think that's exactly what it was. So, and John Cena, of course, fits that perfectly. And, he's popular right now. Everybody loves John Cena, And John Cena's just a good guy overall. He does a lot of volunteer work and does a lot of cool stuff for kids and other groups. So, he just seems like he's just overall a good dude, So it's good to see him in movies and stuff. But, yeah, man, he did well. I liked, I liked a lot of the technology in this movie. They had some pretty cool technology in it. I liked the
far-fetched, but yeah.
Yeah, super far-fetched. But I mean, even Charlize Theron says, this weapon shouldn't exist for like another 50 years, right? So she even admits that this thing's like way ahead of its time. So, that's kind of cool. The special weapon in this, Ares weapon that John Cena's trying to get a hands on, which will basically let him take over the world.
Yeah, this Ares weapons, once it, I guess, uploads with the satellite, it can control any electronic device in the world.
On the planet, yeah, exactly. And there's like pretty much nothing you can do to lock it out. So once this thing's linked in, it's linked in, and and it just takes over. So it's almost like like something out of Terminator or something, right? Out of where the machines take over kind of thing, where this thing would just go in and take over all electronics, and whoever controls it would basically be God on Earth because they would have control over every single piece of electronic on the planet.
All right, so now Han's back. What did you think about that?
Yeah, so I like Han. I think it's cool. I like the fact they brought his crew back too, even though. Yeah, they weren't. I mean, they didn't have to play a huge role in it, but I thought for what the little role they played in it was cool. I liked, I liked the story of how Han lived, right? Because when you watch Tokyo Drift, it's like, no, that dude's dust, man. That car blew up. He's inside. There's no way they're bringing this guy back. He's dead. But then they play it off really well on how he lived. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that, because I was worried they're going to try to make some off-the-wall crazy nonsense of how he lived. Like, oh, he jumped out of the car or something. But the way they played it out in this, it's like, okay, I could see that happening. So I was cool with that, with how that went down. And I liked seeing Han back. I mean, he didn't play a major role in it coming back. I mean, I think it was more just for nostalgia than anything. Really, is why they brought the
Yeah,
guy
it was
back,
odd. He didn't
you know?
really add a whole lot to the story. He added
Yeah.
like he played like a pretty critical piece into the super weapon, which I guess is the main reason why they brought him back.
Yeah,
At least
exactly.
that's what it seems like.
Yeah, he was the protector of the key of the super weapon.
Yeah, I was
So-
worried about how they brought back Han. I guess they did it in the most plausible way that they could with this.
Yeah.
So I didn't really mind it too much, but I didn't think it was all that necessary at the same time.
No, yeah, I mean, definitely wasn't necessary to bring him back. Like I said, I think they did it more for the nostalgia than anything. Just everybody like, all right, Han's back, and not just Han, but his little crew too, right? Twinkie and Sean as well. So I think they just did that as kind of nostalgia to kind of get the whole, almost all the crew back together for this movie, and just make it the big blockbuster that it is.
Yeah, I didn't mind seeing the people from Tokyo Drift. I thought that was kind of cool. It was kind of odd because Sean's character is like flying like a C-17 or something like that.
Yeah,
and
he's
later
flying
on in this
C-17,
movie, and
yeah.
you're like, what?
Like, when
what
did
do
this
you know
dude become a
about?
pilot, right?
Yeah, I'm
right. Like, dude, you were right racing cars. When the hell did you learn how to fly C-17?
I thought that was odd, but
Right. I thought the same thing. I was like, what? And then of course there's some rocket ship action in here, and you end up with some people in space, and it's just
they take a leap because
you know.
they strap like a big rocket to Fierro, and it looks like they're trying to race a jet or a plane, and they go from that to like attaching rockets to put a car in space.
Yeah, so it kind of reminded me of the DeLorean, man, and Back to the Future. The way this whole thing went down. A little Back to the Future action here, but that was nuts. Like, I mean, and how do you top that? All right, you already got a couple of your guys in space now in the movie. What is like? Because I know there's like 2 more movies. So there's the next one. Are they going to be on the moon? Then after that, 2 of them are going to be on Mars. I mean,
That space scene was completely ridiculous.
Oh, it was.
Shouldn't even be in the movie. It's not like it even added a huge action element.
No,
or
it didn't
anything
because
like that. It was kind of silly.
Because they took care of the problem on Earth anyway, and they really didn't even need to do it on the.
I'm not really sure why they did that. But.
Yeah, made for good TV, man, or good movie, I guess. Good action in space.
And what'd you think about Cardi B?
Cardi B is in this movie.
Supposedly she's going to be in the next one.
Yeah, she was in this movie for 2 seconds. She plays a very minor role.
All the talk about her being in it was like for that. Okay,
you see her literally for maybe 10 seconds, and she has like one line that she drops, and then no more Cardi B. That's it. So, if they're saying she's gonna be in the next one, maybe they'll give her a bigger role. I guess like I said, because she has her own little crew in this one, so maybe they'll use her crew for something in the next movie. But in this one, there was just, there was almost no point in having her in it, right? So, except for just introducing her and her crew, which which might play into the next movie, I guess. But
yeah, who knows?
Yeah, but again, the little role she had, she did fine, I guess. And we'll see what happens with her in the next one.
Now, the other big action kind of stuff is related to the magnets. What do you think about the magnets?
That was ridiculous, man. Holy cow! So you got these super magnets, right? So these super magnets come into play because John Cena needs to break into this building, and in order to do so, he wants them to shut down all the electronics, all the security, all that stuff around. So they bring this giant super magnet and park it. Well, ends up getting in Toretto and his gang's hands. So they're racing around chasing John Cena and the bad guys with this giant magnet. And they're literally just, wiping the floor with civilians. Right? There is no regard for civilians in this movie, first of all. They turn those magnets on, and the magnets are sucking cars into them, blowing cars up, hitting people with stuff, killing people left and right. Like, tons of people are dying in this movie, and it's really the good guys that are doing all the killing. Right?
Yeah, I don't think the bad guys kill anyone in this movie that I recall, but the good guys kill a lot of people.
Yeah. And I saw with my son, and my son's like, man, he's like, I think Dom's killing more people than anybody. It's like... But
what else is kind of funny about the magnets is the whole reason why they have the magnets is to like interfere with the cameras and things like that. But they're using computers around these magnets and the same cars with these magnets. And there's
no interference with that.
Outside that scene, there's no more interference from the magnets.
Right. Outside that scene, it's just using the magnets to to suck stuff in. But then it's like they're picking and choosing what they want to suck in with the magnets. And it's like, why does it doesn't work that way? You turn that crap on, it's going to suck in everything. So there's scenes where they turn the magnets on because they're trying to get rid of these trucks. So the magnets are sucking like TVs and all kinds of stuff out of the stores that are like bashing these trucks. But it didn't suck the trucks into them. But then there's another scene where they turn it on and it sucks a car through the building into the magnet, right? It's like, it just totally made no sense whatsoever. And there was no explanation on how they made these magnets work that way, and they never would, right? The magnets would never do that stuff the way they had it.
And what's kind of odd too is the magnets are pulling stuff behind them to crash into cars behind them. Yeah. Magnets normally are like a straight point to point. Now, you could probably do that if you fluctuated the magnet, like turn it off and on, but they're not doing that.
No, they just have it on. Yeah, exactly.
It makes for good entertainment, but kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it was nuts, man. And when they also made it where they could repel, right? So they had everything come to the magnet, and then they had it where they could flip it and repel all the crap off the magnet and shoot it off everywhere. So yeah, it was crazy, man. And then, so that was a crazy scene. And then we get another scene where there's this vehicle called the Beast, right? So our villains are in this giant vehicle called the Beast, and it's like it's a giant military vehicle. It's almost like
like an armored,
giant like armored
18-wheeler, but more so than that.
But it's more like a train, right? Like a giant armored train on the road. So they're driving this thing. Charlize Theron is flying, her UAV stealth fighter, and she shoots it with some rockets. So this thing starts tumbling down a hill, and I mean tumbling probably 50, 60 miles an hour down this hill, heading to the edge of a cliff. And there's nothing that's going to stop this thing from going over that cliff. Yeah,
that's what you thought.
Yeah, except Dom. Dom,
he turns the wheel to the right.
That's right.
And
that's right. Dom jumps in the driver's seat as this thing's tumbling sideways down this hill. He just turns that freaking steering wheel as it happens to roll up right, and somehow this giant freaking long train basically just gets straightened out, and he keeps it from going over the cliff. So
the car don't make the driver.
That's right. The car does not. Dom makes that very clear in all the movies. Right? So only Dom Toretto could save that train car, and he did. But that was insane. There was nothing on the planet that would have stopped that car from going, or stopped that giant vehicle from going over the edge of that cliff.
So what do you think about the whole movie?
So, the whole movie was, it was action, man. It was, and that's what made this movie, right? There was so much unrealistic craziness in it. And, like you said, just don't think, just watch. And you're going to enjoy the action. It's, it's not cheesy action. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of good fight scenes. There's a lot going on, like we said, with the magnets and all kinds of crazy car scenes, and it was good. So I love the action. The story was okay. Like I said, I would have watched it without a plot, just because all the action, right? It's almost like that movie Shoot 'Em Up, right, where everybody's just shooting and getting killed, and you don't care about the plot. You're just watching all the crazy action going on. So plot was okay. It wasn't horrible. Charlize Theron again as the villain did okay. The ending, and I don't want to do any spoilers, but.
Any spoilers? You kind of already revealed a lot, but
I guess we did.
I guess we won't reveal the big thing at the end.
Yeah, but
how it goes down. But
no, but as far as were
you pretty satisfied with the ending though?
To an extent, but again, the way the dynamic between the brothers at the very end and just the way it went down didn't make sense, right? It's like all of a sudden, okay, cool, and no, that don't make any sense at all, So
it's not too different than Marvel with Loki and stuff like that, though, right?
Exactly.
We got these villains that kill people, and then it's like, we're cool.
So so it's kind of like the whole Jason Statham thing, right? How they made Jason Statham like this crazy murderer, right? He kills a ton of people, and then all of a sudden now he's a good guy. So the way some of these shows and movies do that, there's just no way in heck that
they tried to backtrack on that and say he was being controlled by Charlize Theron. And I'm like, no way. You went to a hospital and were throwing grenades at people. Right. She didn't tell you to do that.
No, exactly. No, and she even made it clear. Charlize Theron's always like, you make your own decisions. She even said that to Dom in the last one, right? Like, hey, I didn't make you make that decision. You made a decision on your own.
That's ridiculous.
And
at that time, he allegedly killed Han, and they were like, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of that stuff's crazy, but again, that's just the Fast and Furious saga, right? It's just the whole saga's that way.
You come into this expecting good action, and they deliver on that. And absolutely. I think the story is probably even slightly above average for a movie this kind, I'm comparing it to like a Transformers type of movie or something like that. This story is probably a little bit of.
Even to the older movies, right? Like, that's a funny thing too, right? You think back to the first movie, because again, I did watch it again after this. In the first movie, none of these guys know martial arts. They just know basic street fighting. And the whole team gets taken down by one old truck driver with a shotgun. In the first movie, he wipes out a truck driver with a shotgun wipes out two of their cars. Dang near kills one of their team members. Everybody's cars get wiped out. They're wiped out. And then now these guys are taking down pretty much like world organization kind of things. Big time, rich people with tons of money and tons of weapons, and they're just mowing through them like nothing now. So it's funny how you go from the first movie, to 20 years later, these guys are like darn near superheroes,
Yeah, even in Fast 7, Roman was struggling to fight people, but in this movie, he's taking on a lot of people. So I'm like, he must have invested in some martial arts hand-to-hand training or something.
That's right, man, Must have had Randy Couture come in or somebody train these guys up. But so I was kind of laughing about that when I went back and watched the first one. I was like, wow, you got a freaking truck driver with a shotgun.
Han was with him too, and he didn't know how to fight, and now he's sniping people, all kinds of stuff. So.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, he got training from somebody that we won't ruin it, but
maybe I guess
possibly, yeah. But so it's too funny going back and seeing just the first couple really, compared to, you know, and how low the stakes were in the first couple movies compared to now, where it's like, you know, world-ending stakes. You know, like the stakes are super high now, and these guys are basically trying to save the world. So yeah, it was that was pretty funny when I went back and watched that, and I was like, wow, you get a truck driver taking down the whole team, and now these guys are just friggin', you know, unstoppable.
So what do you rate this, and where do you think it stacks in the series?
So for the action alone, I will give this. I mean, if it had a better plot, if this movie had like a better plot and a little bit better acting in some of the roles, I'd probably give it a 9. You know, just because, I mean, this is by far the best action in a fast movie we've seen. You know, I mean, they bring it in this movie. I mean, it's super entertaining. Like, there wasn't a dull moment in it. I enjoyed it all as I'm watching it. But you know, just, you know, but I'm gonna drop it down to an 8 because of the plot. You know, because you know, some of the acting just wasn't super great. And there were some like cheesy scenes in there. You know, conversations between you know, a couple of the actors. It was like, you know, really didn't need that. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a good solid 8. And like I said, it had the plot been a little bit better, and had there been a little bit better acting in it, I'd have given it a 9.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going back and forth between an 8 and a 7. I think I'm gonna rest on a 7 for this movie, just because I think 7 and 6 I think are better movies. I enjoyed those a little bit more than this, even though this is kind of right up there with them. I think this is better than 8.
That was definitely better than 8.
But I like 6 and 7 a little better, and I would probably rate those an 8. So I'm going to go with a 7 with this movie. You know what you're getting into. This is Fast and Furious. If you've seen the last couple, it's very similar to those. So
yeah,
it's just essentially a continuation of that.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I think they're coming out with 2 more movies. So yeah, well, that's what they say, right? But they're making billions of dollars off these movies. So
it'll be interesting to see how this movie does too, because I went to the theater and was not packed at all. So I'm wondering how that's going to shake out for them.
Yeah. No, when I went to the theater, there was me and my son, and I think 8 other people in there. So you're right. I mean, the theaters still aren't getting packed right now. There's still hardly anybody going, it seems like. So yeah. No, that's a good point. But anyway, so hey, we enjoyed this movie. If you like our channel, like and subscribe. If you've seen this movie, please comment. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And other than that, I guess we'll check you on the next review.
See you guys. Let's talk about it.
And like the action and stuff like that.
High octane, high stakes.
Super Fast 9.
Yeah, that's what they should have called it. The guy nobody cares about? Sure. Fast cars, fast women, and crazy space. You're getting your movies mixed up.
I'm getting so much of it. So you got Han.
Are you doing the thing, or are you talking to me?
Talking to you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.